Welcome to the Your Audio Solutions Podcast, episode 22. Awesome to have you here, and thank you for listening to this week's episode. Today, we will talk about how to be more productive in your home studio or whatever you are doing, if you do music, anything that can help you be more productive, essentially. But before we get into today's episode, I want to tell you about a free guide you can download right away. It's called 3 Tested Ways to Increase Your Client Base, and you can find it in the link below as always. I made this guide for people who are home studio owners, freelance sound engineers, or work in a professional studio and you want to increase your client base. And in the guide, you can learn my 3 tested ways of doing that, whether that's contacting bands online and how to contact bands online, how to write emails, how to build profitable relationships with people in the industry, how to get your foot in the door if you just graduated from college or university and you want to work in a recording studio. And then this guide is for you. Check it out below. It's free. I think you will find it very useful and helpful. So check it out. And now let's talk about today's topic. So how to be more productive? Well, let's talk about why it's important to be more productive and how that can be beneficial for you. So just on top of my mind, a few ways that it's useful is you can do more music, you can reach out to more clients, you can do more in less time, you can have more free time to do anything else you like to do, whether that's some hobbies you have, playing computer games. Right now I'm playing Civilization 5. It takes a lot of time. But I don't do that often. But that's something you can do more of if you're more productive. And it can also let you procrastinate less, because more productivity means less procrastination, or more procrastination when you're done with your tasks. So that's another good benefit of being more productive, basically. The first tip I want to talk to you about is actually something I try to do as much as possible, because it has helped me the most, I think. And that's spending less time on social media, spending less time doing emails, spending less time faffing around on various sites, watching videos, etc. There is time to do that later on in the day if I want to, and that's when I do it. So what I try to do as much as possible is to restrict emails, for example, to twice a day. If I can, once a day is perfect. So that's the first thing I do in the morning. What I do, I check the emails. If there's emails I need to reply to, if there's emails that need to go out later in the day, I can schedule those emails. And that's through a great app called Cloud HQ for Gmail. Maybe for any other email service you use, it works. That's a perfect way of only spending maybe 10-20 minutes each morning going through emails, scheduling emails that need to go out later in the day or later in the week. I can do it all in the morning. If there's an email coming through later in the day, I'll check it the next morning. Not much is going to happen if I don't come back straight away. So there's no need to worry that you need to answer to an email straight away or anything like that. Another good thing is social media. Sometimes I go a month without doing social media at all. I do promote the content I make for the website and stuff like that, but I don't go through Instagram or Facebook. I try to restrict that as much as possible, because in the end it's just a waste of time. It also helps me compare myself less to other people and being focused on what I need to do to reach my own goals, which is really important. And to be honest, the time you're scrolling down your Instagram feed is time you can do to complete your tasks quicker and do more in your day, basically. And the good thing about this is you don't need any apps or any specialty tricks. It's just restrict your time on social media and emails, and any other site you might be spending too much time on. And another important thing that will help you increase your productivity, and I've talked about this a lot of times, but it's super important, is to organize your time and your week ahead. So that helps you see what you have to do, and the task you have to complete each day to reach your ultimate goal, which can be anything you want it to be. So make an album or make a product, make a podcast, make a video. If you know what you're doing the morning you wake up, the easier it is to go up and actually do it and waste less time. I remember when I first started doing this, especially restricting social media and emails, it made me much more productive. I actually finished my days way earlier than I used to do, and I found myself not knowing what to do with the time I had left for the day, and it felt weird. But it actually shows how much unnecessary time I spent looking for emails or social media or YouTube videos, all those sort of things. So definitely made my days way more productive. And if you have a day job or you have anything that takes time away from what you actually want to do, not quitting, but restricting time on wasteful things can definitely help you, allow you to get more time doing what you actually want to do and feel like you have time to do it, because there's not much things distracting you from doing it. So I could really recommend restricting your time on social media and emails and any other site that you feel take a lot of your time, basically. Another important thing I want to talk to you about is motivation versus discipline, because a lot of people rely on motivation to get things done. I'm the same way. Just before making this video, I didn't feel super motivated, but that's when you need discipline to get things done and to be productive, basically, and make content and do more music, do more live shows, I don't know, do more things that you want to do, basically. And so motivation versus discipline is an important part of this. And as a former Navy SEAL and author of Discipline Equals Freedom, Jocko Willink, he's been on a few podcasts these days, he's quite popular. But he was on Tim Ferriss when I first heard about him, Tim Ferriss podcast. But Jocko Willink, he said this about motivation and discipline. He said, I'm going to read this quote here, he said, "I would venture to guess that the biggest reason creative types don't produce isn't because they don't have a vision or talent. In most cases, it's a lack of discipline." And he continues, "The more you practice, the better you get and the more freedom you have to create. Discipline in any area of your life will increase your skills, productivity, and what it says will set you free." This is really important thing to think about, and in my mind it makes sense, because motivation, I mean, you felt that when motivation disappears, you sometimes put things aside and you procrastinate, basically. And if you have the discipline, you can sort of go through it anyway. And as Jocko mentions, the better you get at creating, if you're a creator or whatever, the better you will be. If you lack motivation to do music, or if you lack motivation to reach out to more clients, it's hard to rely on motivation to get those things done, because sometimes it's not the most fun to find new clients to reach out to. It's not the most fun to build a relationship with someone. But if you have the discipline to go through with it and do it, that discipline will increase your skill, basically, and will help you in the future. So it's basically what I heard the guys on the Six Figure Home Studio podcast talk about. They talked about delayed gratification. So if you go to the gym, that's a perfect example of delayed gratification. If you're reaching out to clients, it's a perfect example of delayed gratification, where you do a lot of work but it's not paying off straight away. It's sort of delayed gratification where it will pay off later down the road, basically. That's motivation versus discipline, and why you cannot rely on motivation to get things done and to increase your productivity, etc. The third tip I want to talk to you about is what I saw Tim Ferriss talking about, and he was talking about about meditation and asking better questions. So if you follow Tim Ferriss at all, you know he interviews a lot of famous or people who has accomplished a lot in business or creative areas like films and music, and meditation has been a common factor among the people he has interviewed, and that's what a lot of people do in the beginning of their day. I have done a lot of meditation in my life. I don't do it every day. I do it maybe once a week nowadays. You might wonder, how can meditation increase your productivity? I think what Tim Ferriss's mean is it makes your mind less cluttered. It makes it more focused. It allows you to focus on individual tasks in a more productive way, I think. And I think he's right, because that's also something I noticed doing meditation. But if you never meditated before, it might sound a bit weird and a bit hippie or whatever. But if you never tried it, I can recommend trying it. And a really good meditation, guided meditation I listened to one episode of the Tara Brach. I think her name is Tara Brach. I can link to that in the description below. But there's one specific episode I listen to every time I do meditation. It's a great one. It takes 20 minutes. If you've never done it, 20 minutes might seem long. There's other shorter ones. It's a popular app called Headspace. It's 10-minute guided meditation. That's a perfect way of starting out if you've never done it before. And asking better questions. I also heard this from Tony Robbins, who has been a big inspiration in certain areas of my life. What he's saying about asking better questions and how that can relate to a better life, and in the end, more productivity for you and less procrastination, is, for example, rather than thinking, why do I suck at making music? Or why is it so hard to reach out to new clients? What happens, according to Tony, is your brain will start to give you answers to those questions, and it will give you reasons why it's so hard to make music, why it's so hard to make a living doing music, why it's so hard to find new clients. So basically, if you change the question around and instead ask yourself, what can I do to make it easier to make more music? If you have a side job, for example, what can I do to make more music after I finish my job for the day? Or what can I do to make it more fun to reach out to new clients and increase my client base? The difference there is your brain will come up with answers to that question instead. So rather than just getting negative answers by asking yourself negative questions, asking yourself better questions, you will get better answers, basically. And this can definitely increase your productivity and allow you to reach your goals that you set out for yourself. I read an interesting article on I Will Teach You to Be Rich, a site by Ramit Sethi again. I know I quote him a lot on this podcast. But he interviewed a guy called BJ Fogg. And he runs the Persuasive Technology Lab at Stanford. And I'm just going to read a quote here. BJ said that we should assume that our future self is going to be lazy and have no motivation. So we need to set up systems to make productivity as easy as possible, even when our motivation is low. And that goes back to what Jocko said about motivation versus discipline. This guy sort of says that in a different way, basically, but the same thing. And the perfect analogy to that is the gym, where if you rely on motivation to go to the gym or work out, you're most likely gonna stop going to the gym very soon. So one way of anticipating that is to have your clothes ready and make it as easy as possible for you to work out, whether that's at home, whether that's going to the gym, whether that's going out for a run, whatever you like to do. The same thing with making music, the same thing with reaching out to new clients, or the same way with building new relationships. For example, if you want to make more music, you want to be more productive in that area, have everything set up. Have your instruments ready to go, have your amp mic'd up, have your drums mic'd up, have your DAW, make templates. That's a perfect way of cutting time, because you can just load it up quickly, you can be ready to go, have as much plugged in as possible. That way you can eliminate any time wasted and eliminate you essentially relying on motivation to make music, because if you have to set everything up, You have to spend 30 minutes each day to set everything up, pack everything down. Your motivation, the lack of motivation might make you not do music, basically. And the same way with anything you do in your home studio, make it as easy as possible for yourself and try to eliminate anything where motivation can get in your way. And sometimes, honestly, it's just plain hard work to get stuff done and be productive. I recently had those days where it just feels, it is motivation, it just feels like, oh, I don't want to do this, whatever that was. I just want to play some video games or do something else, watch The Office on Netflix, anything not to work. And sometimes you honestly just have to do it. And I think 10 minutes in, you're going to hit that flow state where everything just flows and you're going to feel maybe not excited, but it's going to feel easier to do it. So sometimes you just have to be hard on yourself and just do what you need to do. And think about what I said before, which is delayed gratification. So it might suck, but in 1 hour, you're going to be happy that you did it. Sometimes that's all you have to say to yourself to go through with something that feels boring. Sometimes there's no magic bullet or no productivity hack. Sometimes it's just hard work. That's it for today. It was awesome talking to you. I hope some of these tips can help you be more productive in your day, with your music, with your business, whatever you're doing. What I would love to know is what would change for you and your home studio if you were more productive in your day. Please let me know in the comments below or send me an email or leave a comment on the website, wherever you're consuming this podcast or video. And also, please subscribe. Please leave a rating if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. And don't forget to download your free guide, 3 tested ways to increase your client base, below. There's a link description below. And I'll see you guys next week. Take care.